somebody in to talk to you about his life. So this is my friend, his name is Michael G. I have known Michael probably about 6 years. We met through going to the gym. So he owns a gym now, but he's going to tell you about his life story to get to where he has. So if you guys, as usual, and you guys are always respectful, so in advance I want to thank you for that. But also if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask him. So this is Mike's third speech that he's doing for us. So all yours.
Thank you again for allowing me to come in. I'm Michael G. Again, I own a fitness facility in Yardley. We're doing a lot of different things with this project. We're writing a book about my life story, and you'll get to hear about that. We're going to do motivational speaking around the country once the book is done. So let me tell you a little bit about me. I was an addict for 20 years. I've been clean for 14. Let me get back to my early childhood, and it'll all lead up to how I got into the drug world. I was bullied when I was young. I was 200 pounds probably when I was 12 years old. I got my ass kicked. Everybody picked on me, no friends, nothing whatsoever. So I went into a shell. Thereafter, that's how I gained all the weight. There was also alcoholism in my family. All right? Now, I come from an Italian background, great family, a lot of love, but my mother and father had a problem. Back in that day, they didn't know how to deal with any of it, okay? Not like today. So I remember on several occasions, me laying in bed, hearing my mother yell at my father, and I would shake. I was so scared. Again, that led me to go into the shell even more. I couldn't wait for the next day to come so all the yelling would stop. So I was bullied and there was alcoholism in my family. I went into a very deep shell. So as time went on, it got worse and worse. Until I think it was my junior year in high school, my body began to change. Rather than being 200 pounds at 12, I was probably 160 at 16 or 17. Completely changed. So I began to be noticed, which was a great feeling compared to my younger days. So my senior year, we moved to the country, which was about 20 miles north of Allentown, Pennsylvania, and I played 4 sports. And it was just incredible how I got noticed. It was like, I'm here one day, I'm here the next day. Complete changeover. So, again, what happened was we started the drinking routine, okay, back in senior. And then one thing led to another. I believe when I was 27 years old, I had my first choice of drug, which is cocaine. I'm going to tell you how that all happened. I was selling cars at the time in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. Now, back in the day, the hottest car down there was 1983 or 84 Trans Am with T-tops. Had to be white.
Yeah.
Remember those days?
Yep.
That's a long time ago. So I had an individual come in, one of the most beautiful women I've ever met or saw when she got out of the car. Little Colombian girl. Long dark hair, beautiful complexion, and she had her boyfriend with her. So anyway, they came in, they had an RX-7. That was a, I guess, hot car back then too. So they drove the Trans Am. They liked it, of course, and we had to do a deal between the two, whatever the difference was. It was $9,000. So she didn't have a problem with it. She had this huge purse. She went into a purse and pulled out $9,000. Well, you know what she was. I mean, nobody carries around $9,000. So she pays the $9,000, takes the car, and gives me a $100 tip. 1 month later, she calls me. She says, my boyfriend shot up the car. I need another white Trans Am. We had one. She comes down, she buys that. Again, cash deal, whatever the difference was. She gave me a $100 tip. 2 days later, the dealership let me know that there was some paperwork that needed to be signed, so I had to call her. Now, she lived in the Poconos. I don't know if anybody knows where the Poconos are. Okay. So we were about an hour and a half away from each other. So I said, we meet halfway. So we met halfway. And once the paperwork was signed, she handed me this baggie, and here was cocaine. I think it was a gram at the time. Didn't know what to do with it. I never experienced it. 27. I always called myself a late bloomer when it come to the drug world. So I had it in my wallet for about a week. Didn't have a clue. So I called up a friend, says, bring it over, show you what to do with it. Well, he showed me, and I was hooked. The first snort. And then, one thing led to another. About a month later, she calls me from the Poconos. Says, why don't you come up? Come up for a couple days. So, it was, again, about an hour and a half drive. Go up there, and the house was unbelievable. Cars all over the place. Walk into the house. Guns at the doors, wherever. But we started partying. And I never saw so much cocaine, kilos of it. And we just partied for 2 days. You know, I was whacked. You know, paranoid, whacked, whatever you want to call it. So one of the days that I was there, she says, Michael, go into the closet. I have a bunch of shoe boxes there. And here, I opened up the shoebox. Box is full of money. Every shoebox was filled. She says, take whatever you want. Silly me, didn't take it. I don't know why. But that's how I got my first experience with a drug. By the way, before I left, she gave me an ounce of cocaine. She says, take it, Michael, have fun. Allentown will love you. So I did, and Allentown loved me. About 3 weeks later, 3 months later, back in where the Lehigh Valley, the big paper is called the Morning Call. I read headlines. Snow Queen gets busted. Now this girl was like this, and again, she might have weighed 100 pounds, 110. They caught her. There was a year-long investigation. I was actually in that investigation. But they caught her in a Corvette with a sawed-off shotgun. She would have used it, and a kilo of cocaine. Supposedly, back in that day, really the sentences weren't that great. I think she got like 3 years or something. So 10 years, but she served 3. Never heard from her since. Now, the route that they had, the way they transported it was, father was in Colombia, sent it over to a boutique in New York. From New York, they would go back and forth to the Poconos. And that's how she distributed the cocaine. She was called the Snow Queen. She did that entire area. So that's how I got my first experience with the cocaine. Worst thing that could ever happen to me. I have an addictive personality. So I do everything 150% or zero. Well, cocaine I did 150%. I had to do more than anybody. All right, I had to buy more than everybody. I had to snort more than anybody. And it was just crazy, it was just a snowball effect. So I got deeper and deeper involved in it. One of my first jobs was to, don't laugh, male entertainment business, which was a male exotic dance group out of Reading, Pennsylvania. We travel up and down the East Coast, all Bollywood. And back in the day when I was younger, remember I was shy, went into a shell. The only way I could get on the stage was to snort cocaine. I became invincible. I was on top of the world. People were looking at me finally. I was getting noticed. But it was a drug that got me up there. So anyway, one thing led to another. We danced for 4 years, and then I got an opportunity to go to Florida. Worst thing. Now, I wanted to get away from the drug, and I'm going to Florida, down in the Keys. Now, if anybody knows the Keys, that's where it comes in and out, basically. And I knew all the routes down there too, after a while. But down in the Keys, I got involved in the violent end of it. I worked for an organization. We didn't take any crap. If somebody owed money, we'd go get it, whatever the means was. Again, I was high, I didn't care, I wasn't afraid of anybody. I would have broke that door down, used a baseball bat, a tire iron, whatever I had. And that's the way that life is. So anyway, I've been shot, pistol whipped, beaten to a pulp, left for dead, sliced, all kinds of things during those 20 years of addiction. Anyway, there's some stories that I can tell, but there's some I can't. Again, breaking the doors down, doing whatever we had to do to get our money. People didn't want to pay us. So again, I got deeper and deeper involved in the drug world. With the addiction, again, I didn't care about anything. I thought I was on top of the world because people were taking notice to me. One of the worst things I ever saw down there, though, we were sitting in a bar one night, and I don't know if anybody knows who Ernest Hemingway is. Famous author from the Key West. White hair, white beard. Well, the gentleman that was leading our organization looked exactly like him. We were sitting in a bar one night, just he and I. Huge guy comes into the bar. That was a bar-restaurant situation. The guy comes flying, tackles my partner down to the ground. Now, my boss was the toughest SOB I ever met in my life. He was worse than I was. He would have done anything. But anyway, he broke a bottle, beer bottle. Put the beer bottle in the guy's calf, turned it, and up. Basically, that's what we were taught. How to hurt people and damage them pretty much forever. So I never saw so much blood in my life at the time. It was just spurting out. So we get up, we walk out of the bar. Now everybody knew who we were. Nobody bothered us. No police were called. It was just incredible what we got away with down there and the things that I saw down there. There's a lot of other things that were crazy, but after 4 years I had enough down there. So I came back downtown Pennsylvania to get away from the drugs. So anyway, I thought coming back home, I get away from it. Well, guess what? If you're an addict, the drug will find you or you'll find the drug. And it just, again, snowballed. Got involved up in downtown Pennsylvania in the violent end of it. And it was just a crazy, crazy chain reaction. There's so much, again, 20 years of addiction. I was robbed of so much. Finally, I hit rock bottom so many times. I had tanning salons, lost them all because I was just taking money out, paying for the drug. I actually had 3 of them, making a ton of money. Didn't matter. Took the money and ran to the nearest drug dealer. So I lived on the street, lost everything, lost my family, lost an opportunity to have a normal life. Finally, January 12, 2002, I was going down 95. I had 3 glasses of wine, I have asthma, I took the medication, can't mix the two. where you have a reaction. Well, I had a reaction. Had an 8-ball in the car, just picked it up. So I was going down 95. Eyewitness says I was going over 100 miles an hour when I passed it. I blacked out. And I went over into the left middle strip there, hit it head on, and got thrown from the car, demolished the car. They never found the 8-ball though. Who took the 8-ball, you know? But anyway, that was my last experience with cocaine. Finally got through to me. You can't do it anymore because I would either be dead or in jail. That's the only 2 choices you have when you're in drugs, the drug addiction thing. So I've been clean 14 years. First couple of years were tough. I don't know if anybody's ever watched the show Intervention. Okay? I don't know. They show people smoking crack. Basically, my 2 main drugs were crack and cocaine. All right. Never did heroin because I didn't like needles, and I never smoked pot because it reminded me of a cigarette. But a pipe was okay. You know, makes sense. But when I saw somebody smoke crack on that Intervention show, I could actually taste it in my early years of recovery. And it just would send a chill up and down my body. But as time went on, it got better and better and better. What I did was, I got a job at Bally's as a personal trainer in 2002, right after the accident. By the way, the accident, when I woke up in the University of Pennsylvania Hospital, I had 1 police officer here, 1 here on either side of the bed. I was handcuffed to both sides of the bed, 10 hours of testing. They released me, they took me right to jail. Now, I was in jail for 27 hours in a holding cell with a ton of people. It's one of the worst experiences I ever had. I don't know what is it?
The roundhouse.
The roundhouse. You get stale bologna, stale bread, you get this little carton of iced tea, and that's your meal for 3 days. I mean, for 3 times a day. I was there for 27 hours. Worst experience of my life. And when I got released from there, what happened was, in the accident, they cut my pants. Because they thought I had some type of leg injury or back injury. So they gave me this gown, and I had this black jacket. And I had this gown on, walking down through Philadelphia to a bus station with the gown, dress shoes, and this jacket. I must have looked hilarious. And everybody was looking at me. So anyway, I got home. I said I had enough. Couldn't do it anymore. That was my last time I had cocaine. Again, it's been a challenge for me. It's not easy. The first couple of years are your most challenging, but every day is a challenge. But what I've learned to do is turn those challenges or negativities into positives. I've learned how to do that. You can't do it overnight. It takes time. So what I did when I got the job at Bally's, I just brought positive people in my life, successful people. That's all I hang around with. In today's world, if you're negative, you're out of my life. I don't allow it. And because life is tough enough. So I only have successful, positive people in my life. Again, I've been clean for 14 years. We're well on our way on buying more gyms. Well on our way to doing a book, motivational speaking around the country. There's a lot of things I need to do and want to do. And that's the only reason I'm here. Because in all reality, I should be dead or in jail. And I always promised myself I would never go back to jail. I'll tell you about a raid one night. We're driving up to a house, drug dealer in the back seat. I was driving, companion in the passenger seat. Drive up to this house. There was a huge black van parked across the street of the house that we were going to. Now, you wouldn't think you only see this stuff on TV. All of a sudden, I pull up to the house, that back door opens up. And there had to be 40 police officers all around, not just in the van, but everywhere, all dressed in black, all had the helmets on. They pointed every conceivable gun at my head. They said, if you move, MFer, you're dead. They pulled me out of the car. And then when they wouldn't let me put the car in park, my legs were underneath the car went back and rolled over my legs. But that was one of the rates. I've been involved in several. I used to see in crack houses, once you get to be so high, you start seeing faces. You get so paranoid that you start imagining things happen. What we were taught at one time, if we go into a area that we picked up drugs, we always put them in our mouth. We were supposed to swallow them if police would come up to us. Now, that's pretty dangerous. It can actually burst your heart. I know one individual that had an 8-ball in his mouth, swallowed, burst his heart. Funny, I don't know if it's funny, but I look back at it now, it's hysterical. I'm sitting in a crack house in the living room, and there was a door to the left, and I'm seeing faces. Well, I thought I was seeing faces, through the windows and stuff like that. But there must have been kids in a hallway right near the door, and one of these kids, and I had a $40 rock in my mouth because I was always afraid that door was coming down. So one of the kids must have hit the door really hard. I thought, oh my God, here we go. They're coming. So I swallowed the $40 rock. Not the smartest thing to do, but I was high anyway, so I guess I got a little bit higher. There's so many crazy stories. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, when you do drugs, one of two choices: death or jail. You're not going anywhere else. Now, if I can turn my life around and do the things I'm doing today, anybody can do it. There's so many opportunities out there. All right? We all go through challenges. We all, through all our years, but you can overcome. And don't ever give up. Because I never gave up. My legacy will be, I persevered, never gave up. That's what I want to be known for. Because there were so many times I could have. I could have just gone, to the drug world again. Because that was the world I knew. That would have been easy for me. But I didn't. So I took on the challenges. I'm successful today. And I want to tell you a little story about my little baby. His name is Giovanni. Italian dog, of course, because I'm an Italian individual. Anyway, he's a 9-year-old yellow lab. Let me tell you the story about this. 2007, I went down to the Outer Banks for a wedding. I went down with a couple that were getting married. So we go to this restaurant one morning, and we see this picture of this lab, the litter of labs. So they wanted to go see it. So I said, okay, no intentions of buying a dog. So what happened was, when they got to the place, I stayed in the background. I sat down, and they had maybe, 15, 20 labs, the litter. And somehow, this 5-week-old yellow lab got out of the fence and came to me, put his head on my foot. Now, again, you cannot say no when something like that happens. But in reality, what the story meant was that he had cancer when he was 9 months old, in his bottom left side of his jaw. Of course, you're going to do anything for that dog, because you just love him. You love him to death. So basically, the man upstairs had this all planned. He's a survivor, Giovanni. and I'm a survivor. We were meant to be. We have a big story to tell. But we help each other out. He has saved me from going back to that drug world because he keeps me grounded. I know I need to take care of him, and I don't want anybody else to have him. He counts on me. So I just need to tell you that story because I think it's a fascinating story of why everything happens for a reason. Okay?
I have a question.
Shoot.
So, tell these guys about what promise you made to your father.
All right, my father had a massive stroke in 1999. We're sitting in the breakfast table, and all of a sudden he started tapping. His left, I believe it's the left side of his jaw that drops in a stroke. Started tapping, but he kept saying, I'm going to beat this, I'm going to beat this, I'm going to fight this. Well, you pretty well know if it's a massive stroke, he's not going to survive. They put him on a new study. He was okay for 2 days. And then his temperature rose. We packed him with ice packs, but it was too late. Now, my dad was my best friend. He would do anything for me. No matter what kind of problem I got into, he'd take care of it. He had that much influence in that area. But I made a promise to him. Let me tell you a story. He was laying in the hospital bed, and there was like a window. It was pouring out rain. When we took him off that life support, all of a sudden a ray of sunshine came down on him. I'll never forget that moment. But I made a promise to him before he died. I said I would take care of my mom. Now my mom and my father were married 56 years. So when my father passed, my mother wanted to die at the same time. She died a slow death. I made a promise to my father that I would take care of her. Well, I was in no shape to take care of anybody. I didn't even take care of myself. So I watched her die slowly. I never handled that promise to my father. That still haunts me to this day. My mother passed away. My father actually passed away Christmas of '99. My mother passed away Christmas of 2001. But hopefully today they're proud of me for what we're accomplishing now. I put them through hell. I was robbed of so many things during the drug addiction. Family, missed 20 years. Now family's very important. If I hear somebody say family's not important, you're totally wrong. Family is important. I was robbed of having kids. I couldn't bring a child into that world. It wouldn't be fair to that child. I would have lost it, or whatever. You lose so much, a normal life. But back then, I thought I was living up here because what happened to my past. So it was just a crazy, crazy cycle. And all I'm going to say today is, don't do drugs. Because you're not going to go anywhere. You're going to lose everything.
What about, can you share the story about buying the TV?
I like that story. All right. When my father passed, my mother was very fragile. But I was stealing from her. I was stealing money, stealing credit cards. So anyway, I was out of money one day, stole the credit card, and this one drug dealer wanted a big TV screen. So we go to Sears, I buy the TV screen, write her name, fraudulent of course, and the drug dealer picked the TV screen up. I don't know, I don't remember what I got. It was either this half an ounce or whatever it was. So a couple days later, my mom gets a phone call from Sears. They ask her how the TV is. She says, what TV? And then I got caught. Never pressed charges on me, but she could have. But I did that so many times with so many different things. I was such an individual that I was the best con artist ever. And I got anything I wanted. And it was unbelievable what I got. And people would give it to me. So yes, I became the best con. Today I've changed that around. I'm one of the best negotiators. I'm one of the best people that I can do deals with, but a positive deal, a deal that I'm proud of, instead of stealing, doing the other way.
You ever, back in Florida, you ever see anybody get killed?
Table. I've seen a lot. Yes. We were sitting in a bar restaurant one day, beautiful day. Down in the Keys, there's a lot of transient people because it's very easy back in the 1980s to hide down there because they were like backlogged with their equipment or whatever. So we're sitting there and there's a gentleman sitting in a booth about maybe 4 or 5 booths down from us. Gentleman comes in, points a gun and shoots him right in the forehead. Guy walks out. Guy dies right there. But everybody continued to eat because it's a normal situation down there. I've seen people beaten with baseball bats. I've seen people with tire irons. I used to break doors down. I didn't care. Because I was so high, I thought I was invincible. But if I don't swing first, I better swing first, or shoot first, or whatever first, because they're going to do the same to you. So,
How much money do you think you spent in 20 years?
$500,000, at least $500,000 on drugs.
Wow.
And I had access to that type of monies because of everything I got myself into. But yeah, at least $500,000. I wish I had that money now. But again, that's what the drug world does to you. It's a shame what the drugs are doing to today's society. And that's why I'm here today. To help, maybe, hopefully one person I can help. All right? Hopefully I opened a few eyes during this little conversation. Because that's my job in this world. Any questions?
What's the craziest thing you saw in prison or jail?
Well, the most I spent in jail was 4 days. He tried to get me for a conspiracy charge during that raid, but we beat it. So I was just in like holding cells all the time, or I wasn't in general population, so I didn't see too much. I heard some things at night because they put there was one floor where huge room, but next to it they had all the gay people, and you just heard all kinds of craziness. That's probably the worst thing that happened down there.
I got one other question for you. You said you were a tough guy, right? Do you think you were built for prison being a tough guy?
Well, I played it smart. I never went alone. I always had backup because I wasn't afraid to go in anywhere, but that backup could be right behind me. Because I'm not that big, but I was mean. I would have done anything. But again, that backup had to be there.
What do you think the percentages of guys that were mean in there are too?
Excuse me?
What percentage of guys are in there are mean just like you?
There's a lot of wise guys. I could.
You understand what I'm saying? Like, are they all mean and tough guys in there, or do you think you were one of the few?
No, they think they're tough guys. I wasn't really a tough guy. I thought I was, because that's where the drug put me. And again, I wasn't afraid of anybody on the drug. I look back at it now, what the hell am I doing? So that's what the drug did to me.
Like,
My question is, do you ever lose someone because of shooting before, were you ever in a shooting?
I've been shot. We were in shootouts in Florida. Never lost anybody, but the other side got it. You know what I'm talking about. Okay. We were pretty good shots down there. You had to be. Really has been.
Did you own the tanning salon to try to like have a way to get out of doing drugs, or did you do it for the money?
No, well,
Or
there's
was
a
it
lot of
just-
money in tanning salons. It's all cash. And that's the worst thing that an addict can have is cash in your pocket. I had at least $1,000 a day in my pocket. So you times that by $3 grand. So I had 3 of them. Again, worst thing an addict can have. If I would have kept that money, my God. But the drug was so powerful, it had me. I was hooked. So, you know,
I wasn't sure if like you did the tanning salon the same way as how you kept your dog.
no. There's a reason. I mean, my father gave me $50K to open up the tanning salons. Now, I was drugging. He knew it. He basically probably knew what was going to happen, but he always was there for me. So I kind of knew what was going to happen. I never paid bills. It all went to crack or cocaine. And I lasted a year there, I believe, all through tanning salons. So I never paid a bill. So, again, I was a good con artist. I could talk my way out of anything. So I prolonged the utilities and companies and everything to let me slide a little bit. So, a lot of money in tanning salons. But don't be an addict. Yes, yeah.
Did you have to pay that money back, like, eventually, or,
Money back to,
like, if you didn't pay any of your bills for your
Yeah.
tanning salons, or they just kind of eventually wash
they
it
let you
out?
go, they write it off, or whatever. Half the time they can't find the people anymore. So, but don't do it. I mean, pay your bill. I'm not saying don't pay the bills. But don't do it the way I did it. I'm waiting.
The entertainment business.
I knew you were gonna come up with that. All
What's
right.
that like being an exotic male dancer?
Yeah, right. Okay, back 1983, I was in a group called Body
I'll
Heat.
let you know.
And we travel up and down the East Coast. And it's just a crazy world. I mean, it was fun, but again, I couldn't do it unless I had the drug. Because remember when I was young, I got bullied, shy. I could have never done that without the drugs. But it was it was fun. A lot of stories. That's going to be in the book. But it was fun. It really was. I mean, you never get lonely. Yes.
What was the largest like drug deal you've ever witnessed?
I've seen $250,000 in a duffel bag at one time. I mean, the transactions, some people they didn't have to pay up front.
Yeah.
But the most money I saw at one time was $250,000. Now, basically what we do down there, or anywhere, I guess we do it up here too, or whoever, the drug dealers will do safes in the ground, okay? And that's where they would hide their money. So, yeah, and the guy kept so much money in there, it was crazy.
I have a question. If you were hooked on like cocaine in the beginning, like you said you were, why didn't you take any of the boxes? Like,
Take what?
The shoe boxes filled with money.
I don't know, I was a strange dude back then. I felt weird taking money from her. But I think back then now, what the hell, what was wrong with it? You know, I was offered all that money, but I never took anything. But she did give me that ounce of cocaine. So, yes.
Me?
Yeah.
Okay. Between all the cocaine that you were doing, how come you never thought of selling it yourself?
I did. But basically, I sold it to support my own habit. And that's what happens if you're doing it. I mean, if you're not doing it, you're gonna make a ton of money. You didn't hear me say that. Well, you make a ton of money. Unfortunately, I was doing it, so again, I wasn't making a ton of money selling drugs, just supporting my habit.
What would you say to these students who say, if I was in that situation, I could handle it though. I can handle my coke, and I could do everything he's doing, but I could handle it and I'd be a millionaire. Do you know anyone in all of your experience that could handle it and make money?
I only knew a few that did not do it. They're the ones that made the money. And then, basically what they did it for 4 or 5 years and they got out of it. There's a few people that got away with it, without doing it and without getting caught. Most either get caught or get involved with it, with the addiction. I mean, the drug is so powerful, once you do it one time, I know taking that first hit off that pipe, forget about it, I was hooked on that. And that's worse, well, they're all worse, but that's worse than cocaine, in my mind.
Any other questions? Last chance? Can you start passing out the forms? Hold on one second. We have some, let me have everyone's attention.
Thank you.
I'm going to ask you, wait, maybe someone has a question individually. Guys, hold on. Maybe someone has a question individually.
I mean, once you do it once, forget about it, you're done. So, I don't blame it on her, okay, I blame it on myself.
Did you ever try to get with the Colombian girl?
Excuse me?
Did you ever try to get with her?
Do what?
With the Colombian girl?
Oh,
Did you
yeah.
ever ask the Colombian girl for a date?
I didn't have to ask her for a date, I was at the house.
Did everybody get one?
I one more question. Did you ever meet Mr. Seidenhower? Just checking.
Oh, wait a minute, oh, wait a minute.
I thought he might have If anyone wants to come up and ask a question, you can. Ask a question.
Yeah, get out of there. Jordan, where you going?
I'd also like to thank you guys for your attention and for your respect that you showed Michael today. I want to thank you very much for that.
Let's take my